What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Demon Berserker. Today we're going to be taking a look at my Tala bow bleed build. There's actually multiple ways to play Tala, and all of them are quite fun actually. There's a defensive build that farms razor wires to place everywhere, which for Tala can actually bleed and kill enemies. Or you can play her like a sniper, with long draw, precise arrow attacks on weak spots for big damage. But today, we're going to be taking a look at my favorite way to play Tala, which is the no ADS build. The reason for this is because in my opinion, this is the build that can take the most advantage of Tala's bleed mechanic. It doesn't matter whether you hit a monster with a sighted in long draw arrow that does a bunch of damage, or a hipfire arrow that does less damage. Each hit, no matter what the damage is going to apply 1 stack of bleed to an enemy, while hitting a weak spot applies 2 stacks. This bleed is able to stack up to 10 times. So with that in mind, we are able to shoot the bow much faster in its hipfire mode than we are in its slower firing but higher damage sighted in mode. Reload speed greatly increases the fire rate speed of each arrow with the bow, and since the faster firing mode is with hipfire, we're also going to need accuracy, and some of the best cards in both of these include the penalty of not being able to aim down sights. So let's get to it and break down the build. So first up, we have the 2 most important cards in any bow deck, which is Brazen and Slugger. We've seen these 2 in most melee builds, but this time we're after the bow skills that are included with them. With both cards together, we are getting 40% bow attack speed, helping us to fire the bow much faster, as well as 25% bow stamina efficiency, meaning each arrow will consume less stamina. Next up is Adrenaline Fueled. When you kill an enemy, gain 5 stamina instantly and an additional 7 stamina over 7 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. So because bow shots use up stamina instead of normal ammunition, stamina management is going to be another instrumental piece to this build. There are other cards that give you more max stamina, or others that give faster stamina regeneration, but honestly they all just seem like overkill, because unless you're just spraying arrows everywhere and not hitting or killing anything, then Adrenaline Fueled works pretty effectively enough alone to keep our stamina topped up, and leaves more card spots open for damage later on. Then we have Mag Coupler, plus 50% reload speed, but we can no longer aim down sights, and Wide Mouth Magwell, which adds plus 30% reload speed, minus 5% damage resistance. So together with both of these cards combined, we're up to 80% reload speed. Even though bows do not reload in the traditional sense, reload speed for bows instead increases the fire rate speed while hip firing. The faster we can fire the bow means more hits in quicker succession on mutations to rack up our bleed stacks even faster, as well as helping us to deal with hordes and higher volumes of regular ridden easier as well. This would only take around 4 cards to hit 80% reload speed if we still wanted to be able to ADS, double the amount that we're playing here. And then we have Quick Kill. This gives plus 50% accuracy, but also disables aim down sights, and Optics Enthusiast, which adds plus 30% accuracy. So together with these cards combined, we're now up to 80% accuracy. What accuracy does is it tightens up the spread of our hip fire. Because we're no longer able to aim down sights, this becomes very important to use so that our arrows stay more centered when firing, and don't just shoot off in all random directions. You can actually go up to 100% accuracy and have no spread whatsoever, but that would require an additional card, and 3 cards dedicated to accuracy just feels like too many in our deck, and 80% seems like more than plenty to have no difficulty aiming. Then we have Knowledge is Power. This adds plus 10% weak spot damage, and allows players to see values for damage they deal and enemy health bars. I already like this card a lot for most DPS decks, to evaluate how much damage we're doing to mutations, helping us to decide whether to finish them off or fall back temporarily to avoid getting hit if we can't finish it off in time before reaching us. However, this card proves even more useful for Tala's bleed ability. Not only can we now see the damage of each arrow hit, but now we can also track how many stacks of bleed damage that is ticking off the mutation's health as well. This is nice too because unlike most builds, we don't need to shoot until something dies. Many times, especially if there are multiple enemies incoming, we can see when something is low enough and taken enough bleed damage that we can switch targets sooner, leaving the bleed to finish off the rest of the previous enemy's health. And then we have Killer's Instinct. This adds plus 30% weak spot damage, but disables aim down sights. So this is one of the few times in my opinion that we can get away with not running hyper focused, which hurts our movement speed by a lot when firing. It's good to have a little bit of weak spot damage as well, because it helps us with bosses, but because we can't aim down sights anyway, the weak spots are going to be a little bit harder to aim for and not really our primary focus. Then we have Glass Cannon. This adds plus 25% damage, but minus 30% health. So now as we're nearing the end of the deck, we're going to try and get our bleed damage up as high as possible. So I've picked out some of my favorites that will allow us to do just that. Usually, I would put Glass Cannon on at the end of the deck and say it's more of an optional choice due to its minus to our health, but for this build, not only does this increase the damage per arrow shot, but also includes the highest sizable chunk of increase to our bleed damage per tick as well. Then keeping up with the damage, we have Fill 'em Full of Lead. While shooting, gain 1% damage, 1% fire rate, and 5% swap speed every quarter of a second. Max count of buffs is 20. This card works best on weapons that are able to continue to shoot for longer periods of time, such as an LMG, or of course the bow. This bow is actually probably the very best weapon to use this card, since it has infinite ammo and never has to stop to reload like most guns do. It can take the most advantage of continuous fire. As long as you're actually hitting enemies and killing normal riddance here and there to proc adrenaline fueled, we should be able to keep this card at higher stacks to do more damage. As long as you're not just shooting and not hitting anything, you can keep your stamina replenished while firing. Next up is Confident Killer. When you or your team kills a mutation, gain 1% damage, up to 15% until the end of the level. As we go about each level and kill more and more mutations, this card is just going to keep increasing, and you'll be able to see the bleed damage getting more powerful as it goes, eventually capping out at a whopping 15% more damage, making this an easy choice in most DPS decks, and especially in this one since the bonus to damage also includes Tala's bleed. Then we have Marked for Death. Mutations you ping are highlighted and your team deals 10% increased damage to highlighted enemies. This one's nice because it can be activated instantly and immediately on every mutation. It's good to get in the habit of just marking all mutations you see anyway, not only for the damage bonus, but it also provides a bright red glow around the target to alert our allies to its location and make them focus on it more. Then we have Belligerent. Gain a stacking 4% increase to damage each time a horde is called, up to 6 stacks. 30% cooldown between hordes. Stacks are reset when a cleaner is incapped or killed. Hordes are basically inevitable on any given map, whether it's a timed horde, or from destroying nodes, or pushing buttons at a checkpoint, or all the traps throughout each level like screamers, cop cars, alarm doors, birds. More than likely at some point you're going to face several hordes in every level, which now will keep increasing our damage. This one can take a bit to get going, but eventually this can give us 24% damage at maximum stacks. Just be careful, as if anyone goes down, this will reset the stacks back to the beginning. Then last up, we have Ammo for All, 10% team ammo capacity and plus 3.5% team damage. We don't care too much about the ammo capacity since Bo uses stamina, but hey, it helps out the rest of the team. The damage on this one is also a bit low as well, but at least it affects the team, so it helps to think of it as a 14% total group damage bonus between everyone working together. Another important thing to note is these last 5 cards in this build are not additive damage, but instead unique multiplier cards, as in they multiply damage with every other card in the deck. The biggest takeaway here is I wanted to give you guys all the best damage cards that increase all damage, and include Tala's main bleed mechanic in mind. Some honorable mentions would also be the bullet damage cards like silver bullets and large caliber rounds. Although these cards add more stumble and increase the damage of our arrow's initial hit, they do however not work with Tala's bleed. Another one would be Chemical Courage. Although this does work for Tala's bleed, it's just not a very practical card, in the sense that keeping it activated for effective periods of times would be very difficult. One last honorable mention would be Shredder. I feel that this card really only works best with SMGs and mostly shotguns, because they can instantly grant its full damage in just 1 or 2 shots. And it just didn't feel like it worked quite as well when you're maining bow like we are in this build. Some other cards I would however recommend, if you don't mind losing a little bit of damage, is Hellfire. If you're looking for a bit more mobility while firing, this one pairs really nicely with no ADS builds, because sighting in actually does slow us down, as well as Bow's ability to maintain constant firing with much greater ease than most weapons. Another top-notch card you could swap in would be Down in Front. Without the ability to aim down sights, along with being able to fire arrows extremely fast and more continuously with this build, you may find allies strafing in front of your constant stream of arrows. With this card in play, we can crouch and assure that they're not taking damage from us. And hey, the plus 10 to health also helps to slightly combat Glass Cannon, even if only by a little bit. So there you have it, guys. This build can launch a fast hailstorm of arrows in quick succession to build up Tala's bleed stacks as fast as possible, combined with all the best cards that will also increase the amount of bleed damage that we're doing. So get out there and give it a whirl, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and click the notification bell for updates on my latest videos. Thank you to everyone who made it to the end. I love you all so much, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.